Oh, honey, I can still feel that cold November wind whipping through the cracks in our old farmhouse door like it was yesterday, the kind that bites right into your bones and makes you wish for a warmer quilt. But nothing could have warmed me up that day when they came with the news about my boy Tommy, my youngest, my baby, who I raised up strong as an oak tree, only to lose him way too soon in that godforsaken war over in Vietnam. You know, the one that tore families apart like a bad storm, ripping shingles off a roof. I was just sitting there in my rocker by the fire, staring at the flames, dancing like they were mocking me, and the telegram slipped from my fingers onto the worn oak floor, thudding soft like a heartbeat stopping. I reckon that's when a piece of me broke clean in two, and I've been piecing it back together ever since. But let me tell you, darling, it wasn't the first crack, and it sure wasn't the last. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you're least expecting them, especially in a little town like Milford, Indiana, where everybody knows your business and your sorrows too. Now you sit a spell and let this old gal spin you a yarn about how I got from that heartbreak to where I am today. 84 years young, still kicking around in the same creaky house with stories enough to fill a library. If you're listening close, you might just find a bit of hope in the heartache, because that's what us folks do. We hold on tight and keep going. I was born right here in Milford back in 1941 when the world was gearing up for that big war across the pond, the one they called World War II. My mama used to say I came into this world hollering like a firecracker on the 4th of July, and Daddy laughed, saying she'd be trouble from the get-go. We lived in a little white clapboard house on Elm Street with a porch swing that creaked sweeter than any lullaby. Papa worked the field's corn. Mostly tall as a man's height come summer, and Mama tended the garden potatoes, tomatoes, and those ruby red rhubarb stalks that made the best pies you'd ever taste. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that's what mattered. Sundays we'd all pile into the old Ford truck, Daddy's pride and joy, with the fenders all dented from hauling hay, and head to church where Reverend Hayes would preach about faith, moving mountains, and I'd sit there in my starched pinafore, swinging my legs, thinking mountains weren't so bad. If you had family to climb them with, my big brother Jack was already 10 when I came along, all freckles and mischief. He'd chase me around the yard, pretending he was a soldier, fighting off the Jerrys like the newsreels showed at the picture show downtown. We didn't know then how real that war would get, how it would steal bits of our joy before we even knew what joy was. But back then, life was simple as a summer breeze. Y'all remember those days when kids played kick the can till the streetlights flickered on and mothers called you in for supper smelling of fried chicken and gravy? Oh, it warms my heart just thinking on it. But war has a funny way of sneaking up on you like a fox in the henhouse. One morning in 42, Papa got his draft notice and Mama's face went white as fresh milk. He kissed us all goodbye, me clinging to his overalls with my chubby fists, and Jack standing tall, trying to act brave, but I saw the tears in his eyes. Papa shipped out to the Pacific Theater, fighting on those islands with names like Guadalcanal, and Iwo Jima letters came sporadic, scrawled on thin paper, smelling of salt and sweat, telling us to keep the home fires burning. Mama read them aloud each night, her voice steady as she could make it, but I could hear the waver like a fiddle string about to snap. We rationed everything: sugar for cookies, coffee for Daddy's morning mug, even gasoline so folks walked more than drove, and the town felt smaller, tighter knit like a quilt stitched in hard times. Jack and I helped with the Victory Garden, planting beans and carrots under the hot Indiana sun, our hands dirty, but our spirits high, singing songs about Rosie the Riveter while Mama took a job at the factory welding parts for planes. I was just the type, but I felt important, carrying water to the workers or picking dandelions to make wishes on how I wish Papa would come home soon and the world would right itself like a tipped-over milk pail. Those letters from Papa, they were my lifeline, each one a treasure I tucked under my pillow, dreaming of the day he'd walk up the dirt road, whistling Dixie with his uniform slung over his shoulder. But then came the day the mailman didn't come, and the whisper started swirling through Milford like smoke from a chimney, folks saying something big had happened overseas, a battle gone wrong. And sure enough, a few weeks later, another telegram arrived, this one colder, sharper than the first. Mama read it alone in the kitchen, her shoulders shaking like autumn leaves in the wind. Papa was gone, listed as missing, presumed dead on some godforsaken beach in the Pacific. They said he was a hero, fought to the end, but heroes don't come home, do they? Jack punched the barn wall till his knuckles bled, and I cried till my eyes swelled shut, wondering why God needed daddies in heaven more than little girls on earth. That loss had carved a hollow in us, one that echoed for years, but we didn't have time to wallow. The war raged on, and so did we. Mama sewed on stronger mending uniforms for the boys still fighting, and Jack grew up overnight, enlisting the minute he turned 18, shipping off to Europe where the snow fell thick and the bullets flew thicker. I waved goodbye from the train platform, my heart pounding like a drum in a parade, not knowing if I'd see my brother again or if the war would take every man we loved leaving, just echoes and empty chairs at the supper table. Oh, darling, if you're feeling that ache now, imagine a 5-year-old girl clutching a faded photo, whispering prayers into the night, begging for the fighting to stop so we could just be a family again. But life don't always listen to prayers, does it? Sometimes it hands you more shadows before the sun breaks through, and that's just the start of my story, the heartbreaks that built me tougher than I ever thought possible. After Papa didn't come back, the world kept spinning, but it felt wobbly like a top losing its steam. Mama threw herself into the war effort, her hands calloused from the factory line, turning out rivets and wells. That'd keep our boys flying high. She said work kept the grief at bay like a dam holding back a river, but I saw it in her eyes at night when she rocked me to sleep humming old hymns, soft and low, the kind that promised better days. Jack wrote from the front lines in Europe, his letters full of bravado, talking about French countryside and how the chow was better than Mama's biscuits, which we both knew was a fib to make us smile. He sent me a locket once, tiny silver thing with a picture of him grinning like a possum, eating sweet potatoes. I wore it every day against my chest, feeling him close, even with the ocean between us. Then in 45, the war ended, VJ Day fireworks popping over Milford like it was Independence Day all over. Again, folks danced in the streets, hugging strangers and crying happy tears, Mama, and I joined the parade down Main Street, waving flags till our arms ached, but our house stayed quiet. No telegram of return for Papa, no hero's welcome, just a gold star in the window that gleamed mocking under the porch light. The government sent a flag folded crisp and a letter calling him fallen in duty, but words don't fill empty beds, do they? We planted a victory garden that summer bigger than ever corn stalks, reaching for the sky like they were trying to touch the heavens for Papa. I turned 4 that July, and Mama baked a cake from scratch with ration sugar that tasted like hope itself. She lit 4 candles and we sang happy birthday, but halfway through my voice cracked thinking of the daddy who'd never seen me blow them out. Jack came home a month later, thinner than a rail with eyes older than his 20 years. He scooped me up, spinning me till I giggled. Breathless, and whispered in my ear, little sis, we're gonna make it, you and me and Mama, from here on out. And for a spell, it seemed he was right. The war was over. Ration books traded for real groceries, and Milford buzzed with talk of new beginnings. Papa they buried with honors in the town cemetery under a simple stone that read beloved father and hero. I visited every Sunday, leaving wildflowers. I picked from the meadow his absence like a missing tooth. You get used to, but never forget. Life settled into a rhythm after that, simple and steady as the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. Mama quit the factory and took up sewing for neighbors, mending curtains and hemming dresses, her needle flying like it was chasing away the blues. Jack finished school quick as a wink and started helping at the mill downtown, operating the big looms that wove cotton into cloth for shirts and sheets. He brought home pay steady and sure enough to fix the leaky roof and buy me a new pair of Mary Janes for school. I started first grade in a one-room schoolhouse, Miss Jenkins at the helm, strict but kind with a ruler she used more for pointing at the blackboard than whacking knuckles. We learned our ABCs and numbers up to 100, reciting them like prayers. The boys sneaked notes during recess, folded tight with doodles of airplanes, and girls like me chased after skipping rope, singing rhymes about movie stars like Betty Grable with her $1 Million Legs. Oh, those school days, they were golden. The air smelling of chalk dust and apple cores at lunch. We'd play tag around the pump house, daring each other to touch the cold iron spout and run before teacher rang the bell. Home was still the little house on Elm, but we made it. Ours, Mama hung gingham curtains. She'd sewn herself yellow as sunshine, and Jack built me a treehouse in the old maple out back with a rope ladder that swung lazy in the breeze. Summers, we'd swim in Willow Creek water clear as glass, tickling our toes with minnows darting around our ankles. I'd lie on the bank afterward, grass sticking to my skin, listening to the locusts hum their lazy tune while Jack whittled sticks into arrows, pretending we were pioneers like in the stories Mr. told at the library. He was the town storyteller, retired farmer with a voice like gravel, and honey spinning tales of Daniel Boone and covered wagons crossing the prairie. I sit cross-legged, wide-eyed, soaking it up, dreaming of adventures beyond Milford's cornfields, but deep down I knew our real story was adventure enough, surviving the war and stitching our hearts back with family thread. By the time I was 10, the 50s rolled in like a shiny new Chevy, all chrome and promise Eisenhower in the White House promising peace and prosperity, and Milford got a taste of it too. The mill boomed, turning out fabric for dresses that swished on the dance floor at sock hops downtown. Jack courted a girl named Betty from over in Lafayette, sweet as pecan pie with curls that bounced when she laughed. They married in the little church on the hill, Mama crying happy tears into her hanky and knee as the flower girl scattering petals that smelled like heaven. The reception was a potluck affair, tables groaning under fried chicken potato salad and jello molds jiggling in the breeze. Everybody toasting the happy couple with lemonade. Since beer was for the menfolk after that, Jack and Betty moved into a bungalow 2 streets over and started talking babies. But for me, life was school and dreams. I skipped grades, skipped right into high school at 14, all gangly limbs and braids down my back. The teacher said I had a knack for words, scribbling stories in my notebook about far-off places and brave girls who saved the day. Miss Hargrove, the English teacher, she encouraged me, loaned me books from her shelf, Little Women and Anne of Green Gables, heroines who faced storms and came out shining. I read under the covers with a flashlight beam, cutting the dark, imagining myself as Joe March typing tales on a big old Underwood. But reality was more cornfields and church socials where we play bingo for prizes like homemade jam or a crochet doily one evening at the county fair, the air thick with popcorn and cotton candy. I met Billy first, real crush, his family, farmed soybeans over by the river. He had hair the color of ripe wheat and a smile that lit up the midway. We shared a funnel cake, sticky sugar dusting our chins, and he won me a stuffed bear at the ring toss, calling it my guardian. Angel, I was smitten head over heels, floating home on cloud 9, telling Mama all about him. She smiled, patting my hand, saying, slow down, honey, boys like that don't grow on trees, but they do break hearts easy. And oh, how right she was, but that's a tale for another bend in the road. Back then, everything sparkled like the fireworks over the fairgrounds, and I thought happiness was as endless as the stars winking down on Indiana nights. Little did I know the clouds were gathering way off, but not close enough to spoil the shine just yet. Those teenage years, they flew by faster than a hawk on the Hunt High School dances in the gym with crepe paper streamers and a record player spinning Elvis tunes, hips shaking the hound dog while chaperones clucked their tongues. Billy and I were thick as thieves, walking hand in hand to the soda shop for cherry cokes fizzing sweet on our tongues. He'd sneak kisses behind the bleachers after football games, the Milford Mavericks cheering for touchdowns under those Friday night lights, town spirit running high like sap in spring. I graduated in '59 valedictorian with a speech about chasing dreams. No matter the fences in your way, Mama beamed from the front row, Jack and Betty there too with their toddler. Ellie tugging at skirts. College was a pipe dream for girls like me, so I took a job at the diner slinging hash browns and coffee to truckers passing through, listening to their stories of big cities and open roads, dreaming of my own someday. But Milford held me close like a warm embrace. The county fair, each fall with blue ribbon pies and tractor pulls, where Billy'd compete, revving engines that shook the ground, and win me another trinket, a necklace, this time with a heart locket inside. Engraving our initials B&E forever seemed possible. Then the air crisp with apple cider and laughter echoing till dusk one night. Under the harvest moon, we talked future, him farming his daddy's land, me keeping house raising kids with his eyes, and my spunk, it felt right as rain, solid as the old oak by the creek. But whispers started, family secrets bubbling like stew on the stove. Mama's health fading, quiet like anemia. The doctor said from years of skimping on meals during the war. She waved it off, saying I'm tougher than old boots. But I saw the weariness in her step, the way she'd lean on the broom while sweeping the porch. Jack threw himself into work overtime at the mill to cover bills. Betty expecting their second, and Ellie growing like a weed needing new shoes. Every season life pressed on, but the edges frayed a bit like denim knees on play overalls. I kept smiling, serving pie with a wink to the regulars, hiding the worry that nagged like a persistent fly. Still in those days, love bloomed fierce and full. Billy proposed on my 18th birthday down by Willow Creek Ring. Simple gold band glinting in the sun. I said yes, tears mixing with creek water on my cheeks. And for a moment, the world was perfect. No shadows, no storms, just two hearts beating as one in the heartland of America. Oh, darling, if only we'd known the tempest brewing, the ones that'd test if love was glue or just pretty paper over cracks waiting to split wide open. But that's the heartache coming. The one that'd shake our little world to its roots. Billy and I tied the knot in the spring of '60, A small wedding in the church with wildflowers from the meadow lining the pews. Mama walked me down the aisle, her arm thin but steady, whispering, "You're my brave girl always." And Jack gave me away with a grin, hiding the shadows under his eyes. We settled into a little cottage on the edge of town. Billy's family land stretching out behind it, fields of corn waving like a green sea. I took to married life like a duck to water baking bread that rose high and fluffy canning peaches in mason jars, their golden glow promising plenty. Our first baby came quick, a boy. We named after Papa Thomas James, but Tommy to all with his daddy's wheat hair and my button nose. He filled our home with coos and the scent of baby powder, pure joy that chased away the old war ghosts for a spell. Billy worked the farm from dawn till dusk, his hands rough as sandpaper from the plow, coming in at night bone-tired but happy. Kissing Tommy's forehead before supper, we listened to the radio, Eisenhower signing off on peace treaties, the economy humming like a well-oiled tractor. Folks said the American dream was ours for the taking, and darling, for those first years it felt true as gospel. Milford streets bustled with new families, shiny cars parked out front, and the diner busier than ever with talk of suburbs and shopping malls. I dreamed of adding on to the cottage a room for more little ones, picturing a house full of laughter echoing off the rafters. Life was sweet as sorghum syrup, slow poured on hot biscuits shared at the breakfast table. But secrets have a way of festering like a splinter under the skin, unnoticed till it throbs. And oh, ours started small, innocent-like, but grew into something that clawed at our happiness. It was the summer of '63 when the first real storm hit, the kind that uproots trees and floods creeks. Billy's pa passed sudden like a heart attack while mending fence, left him the farm outright, but with debts piled high from bad crops. The year before, we thought we could shoulder it. Rain came heavy that season, turning fields to mud soup, corn stalks drowning. Before they could tassel, Billy pushed harder, leasing more land, buying equipment on credit, his face lined deeper than his years. I'd rock Tommy to sleep, worrying the bills that stacked like cordwood on the kitchen table. Then Kennedy got shot that November in Dallas, the whole town glued to the black and white TV, Walter Cronkite's voice cracking like thunder. We cried together, me, Billy, and half of Milford huddled in the community hall, flags at half-mast. The world felt smaller, meaner overnight, like innocence got gunned down with the president. Billy said it changed something in. He made him question the peace we chased. But we held on tight family meetings over coffee, plotting ways to scrape by. Jack lost his job at the mill when his slow machines rusting idle. He moved back home with Betty and the kids Ellie, now a Spitfire of 7, asking why Uncle Billy looked so tired. Mama's health dipped 2 coughing spells that rattled her chest. Doctor said consumption from the factory days. She waved the pills away, saying save the money for the young ones. I took extra shifts at the diner, greasing my hair, coffee breath serving pie to strangers who tipped with pity smiles, whispering about the farm troubles. One night, Billy came home late, mud to his elbows, eyes red-rimmed from more than dust. He sat heavy at the table, not touching his stew, spilling it all. A neighbor offered a loan from the bank, but the interest, it'd swallow us whole unless we sold off acres of the land. His pa bled for I touched his hand, honey. We'll figure it. But inside my stomach knotted like twine around a hay bale. Tommy started walking that fall, chubby legs wobbling across the kitchen floor, reaching for me with gummy grins. That melted the worry for moments at a time, but the whispers grew louder in town, folks saying the farm was cursed since the war took Billy's uncle too. A secret Billy let slip one drunken evening at the VFW hall. His uncle not killed in battle, but shot by friendly fire, a cover-up to keep morale high. Billy's family hushed it up, shame burning hotter than the truth. I held him that night as he sobbed, the weight of it all crushing like the combine on a bad harvest. Oh, darling, if you've ever felt the ground shift under your feet, that's how it was. The American dream cracking like dry earth in a drought. By '65, the troubles deepened like roots twisting underground. The war in Vietnam ramped up boys from Milford, shipping out one by one. Jack's boy cousin enlisted full of fire, turning 18 with a buzz cut and a duffel bag. We waved them off at the bus stop, hearts heavy as lead. The draft lottery had everyone on edge, numbers drawn like a cruel bingo. Billy drew high safe for now. But the farm bled money, diesel prices soaring, feed costs climbing. We sold the tractor, the one his pay bought new in '50, auctioned it off to a fella from Ohio who drove away with our piece of history. I cried that day, hiding in the barn hay, scratching my cheeks while Tommy played oblivious in the yard. Mama moved in with us, her room the old sun porch overlooking the fields. She knit booties for the new baby on the way, our girl. We hoped her needles clicking steady as a metronome, telling stories of her youth to distract from the pain. One afternoon she called me. Over her voice weak as thistledown honey. There's something I gotta tell you before it's too late. Her eyes misty, spilling a secret buried since the war. Papa didn't die. A hero, like they said, he went AWOL after Guadalcanal shell shock. They called it now PTSD, running scared into the jungle, leaving his unit to fend alone. The army covered it, dishonorable discharge. Hushed to spare the family shame, she found out years later from a letter he sent once begging forgiveness, but she burned it to protect us. I sat there stunned, the man I'd idolized on a pedestal, cracked like a drop plate. Why, Mama, why hide it? She touched my belly. The life inside the truth would have poisoned you like rust in well water, better a hero's ghost than a coward shadow. I kept it locked tight, but it gnawed at me nights when Billy tossed feverish with farm woes, questioning his own strength. The recession whispers started to economy, cooling like autumn air factories laying. Off Jack took odd jobs, carpentry fixing porches for pennies. Betty waitress with me, grease and exhaustion, our constant companions. Tommy turned 3, asking for Grandpa's stories. I'd spin yarns of Papa's bravery, the lies sitting heavy on my tongue, but necessary like salt in wounds to heal them. Then came the blow that broke the dam. Billy's brother, Eddie, drafted low number straight to Nam letters, home full of mud and fear. Then nothing, a telegram in 70, like the one for Papa killed in ambush. They said face blown off by a mine. Billy crumpled like wet paper punching the wall till blood slicked his knuckles. The farm forgotten he drank at the roadhouse till dawn, stumbling home reeking of whiskey and loss. I found bottles hidden in the barn, our savings siphoned for booze. The bank man came calling foreclosure papers crisp. As new money, we had 60 days to pay or lose it all. Mama worsened, bedridden, coughing blood into hankies. I nursed her by day, chased Tommy by night. Billy distant as a storm cloud, secrets piling like snow in winter. Oh, the ache of it, darling, when the world you built crumbles brick by brick, leaving you sifting rubble for something to hold on to. 71 brought the hammer down hard. The recession hit like a freight train, derailing the American promised jobs. Vanished mills, shuttered Jack's hands idle too long. Betty left him one rainy Tuesday, packing the kids into her sister's car, saying she couldn't watch him fade. We sold what we could, the truck, the china from our wedding, but it wasn't enough. The bank auctioned the farm, Billy's legacy gone to a developer eyeing strip malls. I packed our things into suitcases, threadbare from use, moving into a rented trailer on the outskirts, tin roof, rattling in wind. Tommy asked why we left the big house. I said we're starting fresh, honey, like pioneers, but inside I broke silent tears, soaking the pillow while Billy stared at walls, his eyes hollow as echo chambers. Mama passed that winter, pneumonia taking her quick. We buried her beside Papa the stone, now reading together in peace. The service, small rain pattering on umbrellas, Reverend Hayes, older. Greer preaching about trials, building character. I wanted to shout back, sometimes they just break you. But I held my tongue for the mourners. Then the darkest secret surfaced. Billy confessed one night by lamplight. He'd borrowed from shady folks, loan sharks from the city, promising quick cash, but the interest compounded like kudzu. Choking the vines, turned out Eddie wasn't just killed. He'd been smuggling letters out, morale boosters with hidden meanings. Some said traitor, but Billy covered for him, took the blame in his heart, carrying guilt like a yoke. Eddie knew about Papa too, pieced it from old letters, used it to bargain with brass for early out. Billy shielded the family again, but the weight bent him double. Now the sharks came calling muscle in leather jackets at our door, demanding payment, or else Tommy hid under the bed. His small body shaking, I faced him down, coffee pot in hand. Scalding hot, saying, get off my land, but fear coiled tight in my... We fled that night, driving south to Ken in Kentucky. Billy's aunt offering a room in her WWII, the road stretching dark and endless, radio droning, Nixon's woes, Watergate unfolding like our own unraveling. I clutched Tommy close, whispering, it'll be all right, while Billy gripped the wheel, knuckles white as bone. The farm gone, Mama gone, Eddie gone, the secrets spilling like ink on a page, staining everything we touched. Milford, a memory fading in the rear view, but the struggles they followed like loyal hounds, nipping at heels, poverty biting deeper in the trailer park, neighbors scraping by on welfare checks. I waitressed in a greasy spoon, hash browns and Heartbreak, my daily special, pregnant again with our girl Sarah. The doctor said risky with my health worn thin, but she came stubborn, kicking in 72 blue eyes like Billy's first smile in months that pulled him from the brink of it. He found work at a factory assembling parts for cars. His hands steadying on the line, we rebuilt slow as molasses, stretching dollars till they snapped church suppers, fed us soup, beans, and cornbread, shared with stories that knit folks closer in hard times. But the recession dragged on, gas lines snaking like serpents, inflation, eating savings whole. The sharks tracked us down once a knock in the dead of night. Billy paid what he could scrape from tips, but the debt lingered a shadow over our fragile peace. One evening at the park, Tommy played on the swing, Sarah cooing in my arms. Billy sat quiet, then said, "I ain't my pa already. I won't run or lie. I'll fight for us." Clean, the tears came hot, then hugging under the setting sun. Indiana sky bruised purple, promising tomorrow. Oh, darling, those years, they were the forge, the fire that tested if our metal was true or fool's gold, the heartache stacking higher than hay bales threatening to bury us alive. But in the depths of despair, glimmers of resilience started to show faint at first like dawn, creeping over hills, the will to rise again burning slow and sure. The mid-70s ground us down further, Carter in the office preaching malaise like it was gospel. The factory laid Billy off again, lines too long for too few jobs. He took to the bottle, heavier nights at the corner bar, drowning sorrows in cheap beer while I mended clothes for neighbors, needle-pricking fingers raw. As my spirit, Sarah walked early, a firecracker like her grandma, toddling after Tommy, who protected her fierce as a mama bear. We moved again, this time to a basement apartment, damp walls, smelling of mildew, rent cheap, but hope cheaper. I sewed dresses, sold them at flea markets, calico and corduroy, fetching a few bucks to buy milk and bread. Tommy started a school bus, picking him up yellow as a sunflower, his stories of friends and finger paints, lighting my days. But bullies teased him about our ragged clothes, calling him trailer trash. I taught him to hold his head high, son, we're rich in love. If not in coin, the secrets kept surfacing like weeds in the garden. One letter from a Milford lawyer. Eddie's estate settled some back pay, but tainted with the truth. The army admitted the cover-up on Papa. Posthumous honor restored a medal arriving cold in the mail. Billy pinned it to his jacket, wearing it to job interviews like armor, but the shame lingered festering in quiet moments. The recession peaked in 75 unemployment lines, wrapping the block folks sharing smokes and despair. I joined a women's group at Church Quilting Bees where we stitched squares of our lives, triumphs and trials into blankets warm as hugs. The ladies shared their burdens, abortions, hidden miscarriages. Unspoken, we bonded over tea and tears, finding strength in sisterhood. One stormy night, the power out candles flickering, Billy confessed another layer. He'd known about Mama's anemia, not just war skimping, but a factory accident, exposure to chemicals hushed by the boss to save the plant. She signed away rights. For pitiless now, cancer lurking in her history, though she never told I raged. Then at ghosts long gone, but channeled it into action, applying for aid forms, filling notebooks with pleas that got us food stamps at last, a lifeline thin. But there, Sarah got sick, fever high, as a kite doctor bills piling like snow. We pooled with the church fund, drive neighbors donating dimes and dollars, the community that afraid in prosperity. Knit tight in need, Billy sobered up, swore off the bottle. Cold turkey sweating through withdrawals in the dark, while I held his hand, whispering, "You're stronger than this, the farm lost, but lessons learned." He started a small repair shop in the garage, fixing tractors and bikes, word spreading slow, but steady. First customer, hollering from down the road, paying with a bushel of apples, their crisp bite tasting like comeback by 78. The shop grew apprentices, Tommy sweeping floors after school, learning tools, his small hands eager, Sarah singing nursery rhymes to the stray cat that adopted us life. Edged towards steady, the recession easing like a receding flood, leaving mud, but fertile ground for new growth secrets, aired out like laundry on the line lighter for the washing though. Scars remained pink and tender. One peak in those struggles came when the sharks returned final demand, a broken nose for Billy. If unpaid, he faced them down in the alley behind the shop, fists clenched, saying, "Take me but leave my family alone." I called the law. They scattered like roaches, but the debt paid off with shop earnings, hard-won sweat. We celebrated with ice cream cones dripping on chins, laughter bubbling free for the first time in years. Oh, honey, those struggles, they were the valley, the deep dark where faith flickers dim but doesn't die, the tragedy stacking like thundercloud secrets, unraveling threads of trust. But through it all, resilience sparked small acts of grit building to something unbreakable. The heart of a family forged in fire, ready to rise from the ashes, stronger, warmer, kinder. Just you wait, the turning's coming, the light after the longest night. By the turn of the 80s, things started shifting like the first thaw. After a brutal winter, Reagan on the radio talking tax cuts And Morning in America, his voice booming with that Hollywood polish. Folks in the trailer park tuned in, hopeful eyes brightening as jobs trickle back like rain after drought. Billy's shop hummed steady. Now tools clanging, radios playing country tunes, Waylon Jennings singing about good old boys fixing Fords and Chevys. Word got around, reliable work, fair prices, no shortcuts. The apprentices grew into journeymen. Tommy, one of them, wiping grease from his brow at 15, showing the same steady hand as his pa. We moved out of that damp basement into a modest ranch house on the edge of town, 2 bedrooms, linoleum floors, but ours windows letting in sunlight that danced on the walls like it was welcoming us home. I planted geraniums in pots red as rubies, waving hello to neighbors who brought over casseroles, tuna noodle, and green bean their warmth, melting the last ice of hard times. Sarah started kindergarten braids swinging as she skipped to the bus. Her chatter-filling evenings with tales of finger painting and playground queens. Billy eased into the evenings, sober strong, cooking burgers on the grill, smoke curling up, carrying the scent of comeback. We paid off the last shark debt, the final check mailed with a prayer that it had severed the chain for good. No more shadows lurking, just clear skies ahead, the recession fading like a bad dream, economy roaring back, factories rehiring. Jack found work again at a new plant over in Terre Haute. Betty came crawling back, kids in tow, apologies thick as gravy. We forgave slow, but sure, family mending like a quilt patched with care. Oh, darling, that resolution, it didn't come in a flash, more like dawn creeping slow, but sure lighting the path we'd stumbled down so long. One spring day in '82, the real turning hit peak like a sunrise bursting over the fields. Billy got a call from old Mr. Harlan, the one who bought our farm years back. Developer plans fell through strip malls, scrapped for lack of funds, land sitting idle, weeds choking the furrows. He offered it back, buy it outright for what we owed. Plus a bit, the banks loosened up, interest rates dropping like autumn leaves. Billy stared at the phone, then at me, eyes shining with that old fire, honey. It's ours again if we want it. We scraped every penny, shop savings, church loans, neighbors chipping in with IOUs, promising labor for the harvest. The closing was in the lawyer's office papers, signing crisp as fresh hay. The deed back in our hands after a decade of wandering. I cried, then quiet tears soaking the collar of my best dress, walking the acres that evening, wildflowers nodding in the breeze. Tommy and Sarah running ahead, whooping like it was Christmas. Come early, Billy knelt in the dirt, scooping soil into his palm, letting it sift through fingers like gold dust. This is home, he said, voice thick, we'll build it better. No debts, no shortcuts, just us and the land. I forgave him the bottle, the secrets spilled in weakness, seeing the man rise stronger, his shoulders broad enough for all our yesterdays. The farm reborn, we planted. Soybeans rose straight as a preacher's word, rotating crops, smart like learning from extension agents who taught modern ways. No-till farming, saving the soil from erosion. Billy hired help, seasonal hands from Mexico, kind folks, sharing tamales and stories around the fire pit evenings. We'd sit on the porch, rebuilt stronger than before, rocking chairs creaking with rhythm, Sarah strumming a guitar chord, simple but sweet singing about rivers and redemption. The community rallied, 2 barn raising one Saturday, hammers pounding under a blue sky, Reverend Hayes blessing the frame with prayers for plenty. Milford welcomed us back like prodigal sons, potlucks and parades, folks toasting our grit, saying you showed us what perseverance looks like. Oh, the joy of it bubbling up from deep wells, long dry filling the hollows with hope that echoed louder than any loss. But resolution ain't just about farms and fortunes. It's the heart mending, the secrets aired and forgiven, like laundry fresh off the line. One afternoon, Jack showed up unannounced, hat in hand, eyes downcast, spilling his own load. He'd known about Eddie smuggling, not just letters, but small stuff, rations, maybe to trade for favors, and now I'm covered it to keep the family whole. But guilt ate at him like rust on an old plow. Billy clapped his shoulder, brother. We all carried weights. Now we share them lighter together. They hugged in long and fierce tears, cutting tracks in dust. Jack stayed on helping with the harvest, his hands steady on the combine, stories flowing easy. Now no more hiding the war scars out in the open, healing in the telling. I wrote letters too to the army about Papa, the truth woven gentle, requesting that metal shine on his grave. They sent 1 gold star pinned with honor, no more shadows, just light on the stone. We placed it there. Mama's plot beside blooming dogwoods, pink as promised. Sarah asked about the wars, her little face serious. Why'd they take so many grandpas? I knelt eye level explaining sometimes folks fight for what's right, even when it hurts. But love brings them home. Different, stronger. We visited the VFW Billy, speaking to the young ones and listening about Vietnam, not glory, but grit. The buddies lost the nights that never end. They listened, heads nodding, sharing their fears, openness. A bridge over old chasms, the 80s, boomed Wall Street wild, but in Milford, it was quieter, real growth in community gardens, shared tools, co-ops, forming against the next downturn. We joined one, pooling resources, buying seed in bulk, trading labor for lessons, resilience, not just personal, but woven into the town's fabric like threads and denim tough and true. Billy and I renewed vows, quiet like on our 20th anniversary down by Willow Creek, where it started to ring simple. But the promise deeper, no, naive forever, but earned through storms. The kids witnessed Tommy now driving the old truck, celebrating wildflowers into crowns. Oh, honey, that peak of healing, it swelled around us like a chorus hearts, sinking to the same hopeful beat. The tragedies transmuted into teachers' secrets to strength. The American spirit shining through not in headlines, but in everyday grit. The farm thriving, corn tall, as memory-yielding bumper crops sold at market stands where folks lined up for ears, sweet as victory. As the decade wore on, the resolution deepened, roots sinking firm into fertile ground. Tommy graduated high school in '86, cap and gown black against the June sky. He headed to community college, studying agribusiness eyes on expanding the farm, smart, sustainable ways. No more boom and bust. Sarah bloomed into a spitfire, joining 4-H, raising rabbits, fluffy as clouds, winning ribbons, blue as the sky, her pride beaming brighter than any trophy. Billy mentored local kids shop classes, after school teaching wrenches and welds, but more how to stand tall when life bucks you. I watched from the kitchen window, apron dusted with flour, heart full as a harvest moon. The recession scars faded pink, reminders, not raw wounds. We hosted suppers Sundays, table groaning under roast chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy thick, as Lovekin gathered Jack, Betty, the kids. Now teens laughing over pie stories, circling back to the hard years, but laced with humor. Now the bottle A, distant memory, Billy's laugh booming, free secrets all out, like cards on the table, no aces hidden, just honest hands. The town changed, 2 new folks moving in, young families starting over. We welcomed them with open arms, sharing tools and tales, proving Milford still had heart. Despite the times, Vietnam vets marching in parades, now honored, not hushed, flags waving for the fallen and the fighters alike. I volunteered at the library, reading to little ones, voices soft with wonder, spinning yarns of perseverance like the one you're hearing now. Hope not hokey, but hard-won, the glow of resolution warming like sunlight on tilled soil, ready for whatever seeds the future sows. Oh, darling, if those struggles were the night, this was dawn breaking full and fierce, chasing shadows away, leaving only the light of lives rebuilt stronger together. The resilience not mine alone, but ours, a family. A town, a nation bouncing back with grace and grit, just like we always do. Looking back now from this old rocker on the porch, the one Jack rebuilt with his own calloused hands, I see the threads of my life woven tight, not in straight lines, but in loops and knots, the kind that hold when the wind howls fierce. Those 84 years, they've been a tapestry of tears and triumphs, heartbreaks that hollowed me out only to fill me fuller with wisdom and warmth. Oh, honey, if I could whisper to that young girl chasing fireflies in the Elm Street yard, I'd say, hold on, darling, the storms come, but so does the sun. And it's the weathering that makes the soul shine like polished oak. Life in Milford and beyond taught me that resilience ain't born. It's built brick by tear-soaked brick, from the war that stole Papa, leaving a girl adrift on seas of ration books, to the Vietnam telegram that shattered my world anew, each loss. A lesson in leaning on the unseen strength that hums quiet in the bones, us Americans. We know that, don't we? From the beaches of Normandy to the rice paddies overseas and the factory lines that rebuilt after every bust we've risen. Not because it's easy, but because giving up just ain't in our blood. It's the neighbor bringing soup when the fridge runs bare, the child forgiving a daddy stumbles, the farm reclaimed from weeds and worry. That's the real victory, the one that whispers hope louder than any defeat. Think of the secrets now, the ones that festered like hidden thorns. Papa running scared, not a hero's end, but a man's breaking under shells that screamed louder than duty. Mama burying the truth to shield our dreams. Billy's bottle and bargains born of desperation to keep the roof overhead. They weighed heavy as anvils dragging us down, but airing them out, forgiving the flaws in those we love. That's where the healing blooms. True forgiveness ain't forgetting. It's choosing to see the whole person, the hero and the hurt tangled together. I forgave Papa in my heart long before that medal came pinning his memory with grace. Not shame Mama for the silence that protected too fiercely Billy for the nights he wandered, lost in grief. We all carried ghosts, but letting them go lightened the load, turned burdens to bridges, connecting us closer than blood alone. The secret to enduring is that mercy, the grace to say, I see your scars on mine too, and together we'll mend them into something beautiful, a family quilt patched with stories that warm the coldest nights, resilience that lives there in the forgiving and the rising after every fall, like the corn pushing through Indiana clay, comes spring unbowed by winter's bite. And the joys, oh, they sneak in subtle as dawn light, the simple ones that stick deep as Tommy's first steps. Wobbling across the kitchen floor, his grin wide as the Mississippi Sarah's laughter bubbling like creek water over stones. The way Billy's eyes crinkle still when he teases me about my rhubarb pie being the best this side of the Wabash. Those moments, they anchor us when the tragedies threaten to sweep us under the wars that took our boys left holes. But the homecomings, the letters read by firelight, the parades where vets clasp hands, sharing silent nods, those healing ways words can't touch, the recessions that stripped us bare, taught thrift and togetherness, community suppers where plates passed hand to hand, no one left hungry, the farm's rebirth, not just land, but legacy handed to Tommy. Now running it with Sarah's help, sustainable, smart ways that honor the past while reaching for tomorrow. Y'all know that American spirit, the one that turns. Factories from tanks to toys, rebuild cities after floods, plants, victory gardens and backyards. It's alive in the everyday, the sock hop dances, the church, bingo nights, the way Milford rallies for a neighbor's barn, raising hammers, ringing like hope itself. Those peaks of joy, they come every 500 heartbeats or so, reminding us life's not all shadow. There's light woven in laughter and love, the kind that outlasts the ache. Now, as I rock here, watching the sun dip low, painting the fields gold, I reflect on how far we've come from that November wind carrying Tommy's news to this porch, creaking with contentment. The heartbreaks, they shaped me, made me tougher, kinder, more alive to the fragile beauty of days strung together like beads on a string. Double wordie taught waiting and faith, Vietnam endurance and loss, the recession's grit and grace, each era. A chapter in the great American story of bouncing back, not unbroken but beautifully mended. I tell my grandkids now, clustered at my knees with their sticky fingers and wide eyes that life's curveballs, they teach you to swing harder, to cherish the hits and learn from the misses. Hold family close like a lifeline secret spill, but truth sets free, joys multiply when shared, and hope. Well, that's the seed you plant in every storm, believing it'll sprout come sun. We persevere because that's who we are, folks, who patch roofs in rain, who sing hymns in the dark, who share stories around the supper table, turning strangers to kin. Oh, the warmth of it all, swelling in my chest like a hymn rising full and free. If this yarn's tugged at your heartstrings the way it does mine every time I spin, is share it with someone who needs a reminder that we all got our heartaches, but we got our hopes too. Pass it on, darling. Let it ripple out like a stone in Willow Creek, touching shores you can't even see, because in the sharing, that's where the real magic happens. The light spreading farther than any one life can reach, and who knows, maybe it'll help another soul find their way through the shadows to this same hopeful glow we all deserve.